All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 30th ever episode of the Failing to Success in Multifamily show, a podcast where we appreciate, discuss, and reflect on the setbacks real estate investors have had leading up to their success. Today, I have a really special guest here, Mike on. Mike is the founding member of Growth Capital Group and a general partner in 12 multifamily properties totaling over 1,200 units and $100 million in assets under management. Mike and I got connected through a mutual connection. Mike lives in California. However, his properties are in Texas, Kansas City, Las Vegas, and California. Mike's focus has been on undervalued properties, which offer forced appreciation through cost-effective renovation and streamlined property management. Mike's experience includes over 30 years as a successful CEO, a successful promotions and marketing agency, and many years of real estate transactions. I can't wait to unpack his story. And Mike, fun fact as well, is a licensed private pilot. So hopefully, if he likes me enough after this podcast, he'll take me on a couple of plane rides. Now, I'm sure that behind all of his success is sacrifice, dedication, and a whole lot of hard work. So I can't wait for you all to hear his journey, his successes, but most of all, and the reason why we're here today, his failures as he continues to reach his goals within multifamily. Mike, welcome to the show, my friend.
Avi, thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I'm real happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's awesome opportunity.
I really appreciate you for coming on, Mike. I know that we connected through LinkedIn, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time. And frankly, I think I did a pretty poor job at the introduction. So if you don't mind letting us know who Michael is, please.
Yeah, thank you. No, you did a great job.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Desrosiers, which I know that's always the biggest challenge in introductions, right? But I've been I've been in the promotions and marketing business for quite some time, 35 years to be exact, right? So a long time. And I've been kind of entrepreneur in different businesses kind of all through my life.
Nice.
Which have all done well and made money, but what has really made the money at the end of the day is the real estate. And I purchased homes, purchased rentals, did some single home flips and things during my years while I was, working at these other companies. And like I said, the companies made money. They, afford vacations, they afford, a nice lifestyle. But what's really acquired the wealth for me has been the real estate that I bought on the way up, and being able to either buy and hold or buy and rent and or buy and flip. And it especially here in California, obviously, as you know, it's been quite a ride over the last 35 years right here in California. But it turned me on. I've always been extremely excited about real estate and really enjoyed it. I got brought in or kind of lured in by one of the mentors out there and education systems. I came through RE Mentor, which David Lindahl's program out of Boston.
Nice.
And went to the free seminar and kind of did the free day. And I'm usually not a very easy sell on these kinds of things, right? I'm the guy in at the timeshare presentation with his arms crossed and back, head shaking the entire time, like nobody's going to be selling me, right? And,
yeah.
But it just made so much sense, and I got drawn in because it made so much sense. And then I went to bought their program, their weekend program. Went through that. Again, it just made a ton of sense. They offer multiple stages of their programs, that offer additional courses. And I kept buying them. I did not buy the big package all up front because I'm just more leery and cautious than that. But looking back at it, I probably should have. But I did kind of buy it more piecemeal. But the education just made so much sense to me, and I was able to really latch on to that quickly. I went out and bought my own building in Las Vegas. It was my first purchase. Wow. A smaller building, and I did that mostly just because I wanted to feel the pain myself, right? Before I started going out and raising money, raising capital from other investors, and the whole idea of buying out of state and how to run this property from a distance was a little foreign to me. I've been doing single family for a long time, but it's always been local, to where I live. And so I did that, and that was really a great experience. It was easier than I expected, and it was really spot on to where what I was being taught, and that really built me the confidence to be able to go out and help do some capital raising. I was invited into somebody else's deal. I was introduced to another team that was getting a lot of deal flow, but having some challenges raising capital. And so I was introduced to that team by somebody in my coaching program, and allowed me to come in as a general partner on their property as a co-GP. And I was able to do that, also bring some other skill sets just with my business experience, and they liked that. And so then they brought me into another deal, and then another deal, and then I got into my own deal, and I brought them in to kind of help support me and sponsor on my own first deal. And so it just really spiraled from there, and
Snowballed. Yeah,
it snowballed. And as they say, it's really true. Your first deal is your hardest, but once you get into the first, the next comes very fast, and then more and more and more. And so that's exactly what had happened.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Before we dive into your amazing story, and there's a lot to unpack here. I love your last name, by the way, and I speak French, so I know that it's a French name. Do you speak French by chance?
No, I didn't. My father spoke it fluently. I did take it in grade school a little bit, but
cool.
Never really got to use it.
Really, really cool name. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I mean, awesome background. And I, first of all, I love the fact that you were able to take the leap into buying your first building in Las Vegas. How many units was that, by the way?
It was just a fourplex. Small.
Okay, fourplex. Gotcha. Takes a lot of guts, I mean, to buy out of state, right? Especially if you're not used to it, right? Big leap there. And that just, before we even begin talking about your mindset, that just shows that you're not afraid to take calculated risks, right? And that's one of the biggest assets that successful real estate investors have, right? Is taking these calculated risks. But amazing that you did that. But let's take a step back, right? Like, before you started to eventually gain momentum and building up your portfolio, you had a pretty nice career, right? Like, you had a really nice professional career. You were really experienced, well vetted, and you had your single family portfolios. But what really made you want to give all that up to now begin building your track record as a real estate investor? Why was that switch? Because you could have easily, retired, right? Instead of continuing to build your real estate portfolio. Why did you decide to, choose real estate as a vehicle to build wealth?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I'm, a lot of it just is about having purpose, right? It's much more than the money. And one thing that I found through the syndication process, the syndication business, and the whole multifamily world is that, it's a real collaborative environment, right? It's a big business, but a big industry, but it's really not a big industry. You can't tend to, know who's who and very quickly in this business. And everybody wants to help everybody else, man. And I just love that. And that is not the case in most businesses. Certainly in the advertising business, right? You don't really collaborate. You're not going to tell, nobody's going to sit around a table and, talk about their greatest ideas, around a table, right? Of advertising people, because they're all competitors. But they do that in this industry, and I really love that. So I love the collaboration. I love the partnerships. These big buildings, the bigger 100, plus units, or even 50 plus units, nobody really takes them down by themselves, right? And you need partners. And so every time you go to any of these events and you're meeting people, you're not meeting competitors, you're meeting potential partners, potential investors, potential coaches, personal coaches. I mean, I have other partners that I look at as coaches as well, right? And I have a problem or I have an issue or a question. I mean, I have no hesitation to call them and ask them, and they have no hesitation to give me their experience. So that part is really amazing. And what really has driven it even farther is now getting to a point where where you have some success and you have a portfolio and all these doors, and you have all these people that are getting into the business that are so eager to learn and so eager to get involved or get interested, get into their first deal. And they're looking at you to give you all this, to get this advice or information from it. And, it's pleasing. It's a great feeling of kind of full circle, like you're able to actually help others, get into this business or thrive in this business or excel their portfolios. So I take a lot of pride in that for the students. I take pride in that for the investors that are getting into this, type of investment, and other educators. So
Like that.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I completely agree with you. My family and friends always, are always amazed that I was even like, I'm 26 years old, and they're amazed that I was even able to get 28 units, because they know me as like this goofy kid, and I always tell them, like, I didn't do this by myself. Like, I had business partners that allowed me to get to this point. And when they ask me, oh, how did that process go, I'm like, all I had to do was just go to be consistent in going to networking events, and then it just happened. Like, it's hard to really explain how networking works, especially in our industry, because the magic of it is crazy. Like, like, I have my favorite book is Who Not How, right? And have you read it?
I have not, but I've
Yeah.
heard the highlights of it from other people. Yeah, I need to read that one.
Amazing book, because it essentially highlights what you know already, Mike, that you go a lot further with a team around you, mostly individuals that you're able to leverage their skills and their knowledge that you may not necessarily have, or that you may not, like, tasks that you may not necessarily want to do. Somebody else can come in and fill that gap. So I really love that aspect of our business, because it provides teamwork in order to tackle, really large projects and profitable projects as well. So it's a great win-win scenario, and it just all comes down to economies of scale. That's something that multifamily provides as well. So thank you for sharing that. But as you know, right, it's not just one day you decide to get into multifamily and then boom, like, you're able to find partners and you're able to tackle all these deals. There's a step to that. And to me, the most challenging part of it was really being consistent in not only networking, but networking with the right individuals, and really making sure that, my piece of the puzzle aligns with somebody else's piece of the puzzle, and we're able to come in and make a beautiful picture. And, it's like dating, right? Like, you have to see if, like, you're going to be a good fit, and it can be time consuming, right? So that was the biggest challenge for me. I would love to know, what was the biggest challenge for you in essentially, gaining these business partners as you started to grow your career? What was that, how did that look like for you, and what was the biggest challenge in doing so?
Vetting the right partners is key, and it is probably the hardest thing to do, because there's risk involved, in your very first deals, with these people. And everybody's on their best when things are going well. And, it's when things maybe are challenging or not going so well, that's when you really kind of see who's who and who the real personalities that come out, right?
That's true.
But I feel like I'm pretty good at that because of my experience and 35 years of this, and in advertising and promotions, and I deal with a lot of people, employees and executives, and also customers, that I'm a pretty good judge of character. And so I feel fairly confident with that. But that is always the challenge, because everybody can and will make mistakes. There's no doubt about that. but it's about adjusting and shifting. And the way I look, the way and it's not really about whether problems happen. Problems happens with everything, every property, every relationship, personal or business. There's always going to be problems, and it's really about how you handle those problems, right? You get in a fight, with your sibling, or I mean, not your sibling, but your wife or girlfriend or something. The question is, do you talk it out? Do you walk away, or are you throwing things, right? I mean, it's a big difference. And
well said.
yeah, and most of the time, the real bad things that come out of it is about what you said and how you said it, not necessarily the problem, right? Same thing, like I said, you get in a fight with a significant other, it's, you have to be careful not to cross any of that line, right? Because at the end of the day, you'll forget about what your argument was about. But if you said the wrong thing to that person, and that really kind of hit a core nerve or something, they're not going to forget that. And that goes on forever, right? And that can really tear a relationship apart.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, Mike, let's dive into a specific deal, right? Obviously, you've been a partner in 12 multifamily properties. I'm sure that you've gone through a lot of ups and downs, right? Obviously, in our industry, right, through calculated risks, we come out on top, but I'm sure that you've had to go through your fair share of challenges. And I want to dive into a specific deal, right? Not to bring up any PTSD, but let's dive into a specific deal that you encountered challenges. Let us know what the deal looks like, what those challenges were, and most of all, Mike, the lessons that you learned from those challenges and how you came out on top.
Yeah, gosh. As I said, there's challenges with every deal, right? I could pull one out of everyone, but I think unexpected expenses, certainly as far as deals that have already closed and were already running, and these unexpected expenses that come in that you just sometimes cannot foresee, right? So the key is obviously to for instance, in Texas, the taxes have been going up quite frequently.
Oh yeah.
And you have to protest them, and that's a kind of a dogfight that sometimes you got to go back, and the state has been much tougher on that.
Yeah.
And you have to absorb those costs in between the time that you are kind of protesting that. Insurance costs have gone up quite a bit with the things like the freezes and the things that have kind of come through the state, and they've all of a sudden increased insurance quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so you're having to offset expenses elsewhere to try to mitigate those.
Interesting.
And keep that property cash flowing.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know for a fact that Texas has been experiencing high tax increases, and I have heard of investors as well protesting their tax bills. I myself am currently in the process of protesting a tax bill as well. So I would love to know, what that process looked like for you. But we can talk about that off camera. And then insurance costs. I know a lot of investors, especially in Florida, who are getting hit heavily right now with insurance bills. Even their insurance quotes changing before closing, right? And that changes numbers around, and it forces a retrade, and it's just a really, really tough situation for everybody. But when you say that you had to offset or allocate those expenses elsewhere, what do you mean by that? And then most of all, when you talk about pivoting, it seems like that's such an important aspect of what you and your team had to do. How did you go about doing so?
Yeah, well, the pivoting, I have realized in all of these deals, pivoting is key, right?
Yeah.
That is the number one thing you have to do, because no matter what, I don't care how well you underwrite the property and put out your projections and do your pro forma for the next 5 years, it's going to change.
Yeah.
And in many cases, it changes right away.
Yeah.
Right. With just different things like, insurance, taxes, things like that.
Yeah.
But once you get into the property, you really realize some things, hopefully, some things are going better than expected, and some things are, not. And so you adjust and you pivot for that.
Yeah.
Well, for instance, you get into a property that, we have one property that we had some of these similar issues with, but we also found that there's a lot more drive-by traffic in front of that property than what we expected. And so we analyzed the numbers as far as where all our new tenants are coming from. And, we had apartments.com, and we had, we were doing, Facebook ads and Google ads, and we had all our marketing budget all kind of set. But we realized our highest traffic was coming from drive-bys.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we were able to, put a little more effort into the signage in front, and kind of reduce our cost of all of that, because, the advertising is expensive.
Huge expense. Yeah, huge line item. Oh, I like that a lot. Love that. And I'm sure that allowed for a decrease of expenses and an increase of NOI. Beautiful. Mike, thank you so much for giving us an idea of that specific deal. Now, I want to jump into mindset, right? You seem to have a great mindset, right? Through years of experience, not only as a CEO, but as a real estate investor. I want to jump into, what keeps you motivated? Like when you are discussing with your team and there's these unexpected expenses that you're talking about, which frankly, I'm currently dealing with, and I've spoken to other investors who are currently dealing with unexpected expenses, shortly after closing or while operating the property. Personally, when you encounter these challenges, Mike, how do you keep yourself motivated to get through those challenges? And how do you handle that?
Yeah. Well, I've always had a mentality that everything's fixable, right? And that comes probably from more my single family, and just, buying a house that has all these problems. It has this, it has that. I don't care what it is. It could be mold, it could be foundation, it could be whatever. As long as you know going in, it's all fixable.
Yeah.
And if you don't and you find it afterwards, it's all fixable. So it's not an emotional thing, for you to get emotionally upset about it. It's just about a financial. So you just got to figure out how to pay for it, right? And make sure that that's covered. And that takes the emotion out of it, if you can look at it that way, which makes it much easier to make the right decision, right?
Yeah.
And just pivot as needed, right?
Yeah. Love that.
And and it's not about the how, it's the who, right?
Yeah.
Exactly right. From that book, it's about finding the right person to make it happen, not necessarily just saying, oh, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
It's who can do this?
Love that. I absolutely love that. And these days, my who has been my maintenance tech.
Right. Yeah, that can be a key player in your team, man. There's no doubt.
My goodness. Maintenance tech and property manager are the two individuals that are keeping me sleeping at night. So, well, awesome. Mike, we're now jumping into the final questions here. And as I told you before starting the show, please be selfish in these questions. These final questions are meant to highlight, what you're working on at the for the rest of this year, and any coaching programs or mentorship groups that you provide, and how people can learn more about you. So we'll start with the first one. Is what are your goals for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, I think 23 is gonna be a good year.
Yes.
There's certainly some kind of troubles and some, properties with interest rates and things going on. But I think that I don't see any disaster, complete meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
I do see some opportunities that are going to arise. And the real key is to keep your skills sharp in underwriting and contacts, and making sure that you can pull in the right team quickly when you have the right deal. And that's really important. So my goals are to do exactly that. Keep my skills sharp. I'm still looking at quite a bit of deals. I'm not saying my pencil's down, but my pencil's extra sharp right now. So I'm still looking at it. I'm going through the motions, but I'm not necessarily pulling the trigger very easily.
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah,
ready.
especially, yeah, no, you're 100% right, especially considering the fact that, there's a lot more opportunities ahead, right? So I know, personally myself, as somebody who focuses on acquisition, I am not necessarily going after the good deals. Well, not just like I'm not going after the okay deals, right? I'm really like I have increased my criteria and my expectations as far as the deals that I want to go after. As we start to get into these unexpected, um, these unexpected avenues as far as interest rates and as far as taxes and insurance going up, it's important to account for those. And my pro
Right.
forma now is very, very conservative. So, just like you said, keeping your pencil super, super sharp is going to be key as we head into even 2024, right? Because that's really where I think a lot of the opportunities are now going to be available to us. And
Yeah.
then, as you're going into the end of this year, what is one thing or one person that can help you accomplish that success in your business right now?
I, I, key underwriting is, I think probably, number one, right?
Yeah.
That has to be it. And because we are there is a lot of deal flow. I'm seeing a lot of deals, a lot of properties that are on the market because you've got a lot of owners, operators out there that if they could sell now, they would.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to lower the price as much, right? As what they need to sell it.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot out there, but you're just not seeing a lot making
Sense.
sense. So it
Yeah.
takes a lot of time and effort to do that. But again, you're sharpening your skills, you're getting better at it. And if you can get a property to pencil out now, that's the beauty about getting it when the interest rates are high. Because soon, one day, we're going to be able to refi and lower that rate. And then you've
True.
got a massive cash flow coming in that you didn't have before. So if you can make it work now in today's rates and today's environment, you've got something very good to hold on to.
Pro forma is looking good. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show here today. I'm sure that our viewers are going to want to connect with you to find out more what you're doing and how they can work with you. So where can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is growcaptoday.com.
Okay.
They can go to my website. There I have some kind of free ebooks and things that they can download, but they can actually get a Zoom link to connect with me and set up a Zoom call either by phone or by Zoom. And then of course I'm on LinkedIn and all social media, so anybody can connect with me there as well.
Perfect. And I'm going to ask you for those social media links so I can put them in the show notes. But other than that, Mike, it was a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you so much again for your time today. And I really look forward to, hopefully inviting you again, in the next, in the next coming years to find out, more about how you're able to grow your portfolio and what other cool things you're working on. So I really appreciate you. Guys, it's been Tinny Collin and Mike Desrosiers signing off.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.